lot of people see the value and fun in mucking around with old boats. They have class, they have flair, they have a story to tell. But as they age, there are unseen problems that can make them deadly. So before you buy a bargain, make sure you know some of the dangers.
Look hard enough and you'll find plenty of old, cheap boats for sale, whether sitting on the side of the road or advertised online. There are boats to suit everyone's budget, but a word of warning.
Certainly a growing issue, not only in Tasmania but right around the country. We're seeing fiberglass boats with rotted out transoms after being repowered. We're seeing aluminium boats with cracks on them with stress fractures. And these boats are being sold cheap to unsuspecting buyers, and then they're going back out on the water, and it's an emerging safety issue and something we've got to get on top of.
Let's start with fiberglass boats. They can hide all sorts of problems. The issue is fiberglass doesn't rot, so it's not until you get inside that the true condition is known, and in most cases, old glass boats will have structural issues.
Normally, the transoms can be your main issue because it's the structural part of the boat where all the pressure is applied.
A soft transom is caused when fresh water gets inside and starts to rot out the structural part of the boat, which is usually timber. This can happen from just a tiny screw hole, but over the years the rot will cause significant unseen damage and the rot will spread throughout the hull.
Sometimes it's not going to be as obvious as this flex test, but look at this. This transom is completely gone. It's as though I could almost pull the old Chrysler right from the back of the boat.
Look, many years ago, a transom fell off a boat out of Swansea and unfortunately people lost their lives. Certainly in the last few years, we haven't seen any real evidence of it, but it is something that can happen and will happen in the future. So it's something we've got to be on top of. We've got to manage it. We've got to stop people buying these old boats to ensure that their safety is paramount on the water.
We've got softness under the fiberglass here that indicates that the floor's probably rotting.
So the floor's gone, the transom's gone.
Yes.
More than likely the stringers have gone.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a good indication that they will be too.
So if you're walking in a boat that you're looking to buy and it feels soft, be prepared.
Yes.
For the worst.
Yes. Be prepared for the worst, absolutely.
You can fix an old fiberglass boat, but it's going to be costly and time-consuming. This old Swiftcraft is a good example. The family has had plenty of great times on her over the years, but after sitting unused, the rot has set in and her owner is happy she's off the water.
We actually found out some disturbing news. You look at the boat looks fine, you can't see anything physically wrong with it. It looks like, yeah, it's okay, you can take it out this weekend and go Easter fishing. But we found that the actual back end of the boat, where the stern is and so forth, where the motors are, is actually given way, so it's not safe at all. So if we were to take it out onto the water, particularly this weekend, yes, we would have lost probably the back end and the motors and we would have been a casualty, unfortunately. It's just a warning to people that if you haven't had it out in the water, please get it checked and just don't think that, yeah, it's fine, because you just don't know what's happening behind and what's lurking.
No one understands how big normally the situation is as far as boat. As far as the rot, the floor, it can become a mass job and should be sort of carried out to an expert sort of standard, because there's a lot of traps that can get you halfway through. As an average, something like this one, this could come up at 120 to 140 hours of labour. So cost of this can be $8,000 with the materials included.
Outboard dealers around the country consistently see the problems. A repower is a great way to ensure your old boat is reliable, but not if it's structurally compromised.
We'd probably have a good 6 to 10 a year that really shouldn't be out on the water. They come through the service shop to have, engine repairs done. We've had a couple come in where the engine's been no good. They've brought an engine off their mate. We've gone and they've brought it here for us to bolt it on. We've just looked at the boat and said, as a duty of care to you and your family, we're not prepared to do it.
And a final word of warning, aluminium boats are also not immune to problems over time.
Where any fixtures have been put into the boat, you want to make sure that the fixtures are of either aluminium or 316 stainless. and that they've got a barrier between them, like a Tef Gel or a Duralac. And if that hasn't happened, you'll know straight away, because there'll be either a white corrosion around it, or underneath paint there'll be bubbles, and that's the start of electrolysis, and that's not a good thing in an aluminium boat.
There's many ways electrolysis can occur, and you need to keep a close lookout for it.
It's like a cancer, the electrolysis, and it just gets worse and worse and eats the aluminium away. And if that's in somewhere structural, like where the outboard motor is, well, that could cause issues as well. So another thing to be very, very careful with is a rusting fuel tank. The fuel tank is steel and is rusting. While that's rusting, that's doing damage to the aluminium. Another thing here in the bottom, you can see the gum leaves and the dust left in the boat. That's all going to rot and create some electrolysis issues as well.
So if you're going to buy a second-hand fiberglass boat, look for cracks, sunken bolts, and have a swing on the engine. Any movement in the transom will mean rot. Have a good step around the floor. If it's soft, it will mean it will need replacing, and the stringers are probably rotten too. And keep an eye out for patch-up jobs. They're usually just covering up problems.
In aluminium boats, check for contact between foreign metals. A coin or loose screw over time could cause problems. But finally, if you're not sure, seek advice from an expert so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Don't be put off, old boats are great, but you need to know what you are really buying before going to sea.
You need to do your homework, and like we always say to a customer if they ring up, look, if you find something, by all means bring it in and we'll have a look for you, because we see so many people that will go and buy an outboard, or they'll buy a package and they think they've got a good deal. They end up spending more money on it to get it, up and going properly.